Years later, I told my grandson this story. He asked, "Grandfather, was the war terrible?" I said, "Yes, it was hell." He asked, "Did you hate the Americans?" I looked out the window, at the sun breaking through the clouds, at the fields once turned to ash now full of wheat, and said softly, "No, because one of them taught me that even in hell, a man can still be kind, beat. War took everything from me, my youth, my faith, my pride, but in a single act of sharing, humanity gave it all back." Weeks passed. The snow melted. The fences stayed, but something inside us had changed. The Americans treated us with respect. Some even laughed with us, shared cigarettes, taught us words. I learned to say thank you properly. Carter learned to say beta. We both laughed at the accents, and then one morning, the gates opened. The war was over. Trucks waited to take us home. We stood in silence, unsure how to feel. Freedom didn't feel real anymore. We had lived too long behind wire. As we lined up to leave, Carter came forward. He didn't say anything, just reached into his pack and placed something in my hand, a small loaf of bread, still warm. Our eyes met one last time. I wanted to say everything. That he had changed me. That he had shown me what no general or Führer ever could. But all I managed was, "Thank you, friend." He smiled, and for a moment I thought the war had finally ended, not in surrender or victory, but in understanding. Before capture, I had been proud, a loyal soldier. We were told the Americans were monsters, that mercy was weakness, that honor was found only in victory. But now, in defeat, I saw what my leaders never showed me, that the truest victory was simply to remain human, beat. One evening, while cleaning near the fence, Carter approached. He carried something wrapped in cloth. He looked around, no one else nearby, then handed it to me. Inside, a half-eaten chocolate bar. My breath caught. I hadn't seen chocolate since before the war. I wanted to refuse it, pride still whispering inside me. But his eyes said, "Please take it." So I did. When I bit into it, tears burned behind my eyes. It was sweet, too sweet, like tasting a memory of childhood, beat. He said one word that I understood, home, and somehow I knew exactly what he meant. For him, it was what he missed. For me, it was what I had lost. In that moment, we were no longer enemies. Just two men far from home, trying to remember what it felt like to be human. Days passed. The soldier kept showing up. Sometimes he'd nod when I passed. Sometimes he'd just watch quietly as we worked. No words, just presence. I learned his name from another guard, Private James Carter. He came from Ohio, had a wife, maybe a child. He was said to be too soft for war. But in that camp, his softness felt like strength. One afternoon, it snowed hard. Our hands were raw from labor. When I stumbled, Carter came forward, helped me up. The guard next to him didn't stop him. Maybe he was tired of pretending too. "Danka," I muttered. He nodded, not understanding the word, but maybe understanding something deeper. Beat. That night, I couldn't stop thinking. What made a man share food with his enemy? What made him reach out when hate would have been easier? Was it guilt, mercy, or something beyond both? I didn't know, but I knew this. Something inside me was shifting. It started small, with a smell, warm bread. We were marching back from the work site, boots sinking into wet snow. Our stomachs were empty, our minds dull. Then, from the mess hall, that scent drifted out, fresh, golden, impossible. We slowed down without meaning to. Even the guards noticed. One of them shouted, "Keep moving!" But his voice didn't sound angry. That's when I first saw him. The American soldier. He was young. Maybe my age, in 2021. Tall, with a face that didn't look like war had touched it yet. He was carrying a tray of rations toward the building, and then he looked at us. Really looked. For a moment, our eyes met, just long enough for something wordless to pass between us. Then he was gone. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that look. Not pity, not pride, just curiosity, as if he was trying to understand who we really were. Beat. The next day, it happened again. We were lined up, waiting for food. The rations were small: beans, a thin soup, black coffee. One by one, the guards filled our tins. And then, him. The same soldier from yesterday. He was serving too. When he reached me, he paused. Our eyes met again. He hesitated, then took a small piece of bread from his own pocket and dropped it into my bowl. No words, no smile, just a quiet act, quick and unseen. I froze. So did the man behind me. I didn't know what to do. Was it a trick? Was he mocking me? But that bread, that warm, soft bread, it was real, and for the first time in months I tasted something that didn't belong to war. Beat. Sheer confusion filled my mind. If this was kindness, why did it hurt so much? The camp, winter, hunger. The mornings came cold. We woke before dawn when the frost still clung to our blankets, if you could call them blankets. They smelled of sweat, mud, and memories of a war that had already ended. Our barracks were wooden shells, thin walls that shivered with every gust of wind. You could hear everything: the groan of the timber, the cough of a man too weak to hide it, the scrape of boots outside when the guards did their rounds. Every sound meant something. Some meant nothing, but fear made them all the same. We were prisoners of war, Kriegsgefangene. Men stripped of flags and pride. Some still carried the old arrogance, pretending they'd fight again someday. Most of us just wanted bread. The days were long. We worked in silence, digging, hauling, stacking logs, or cleaning mud off trucks. The guards watched, rifles slung over shoulders, faces blank. But hunger was the only thing that had power. It ruled us. Every crumb, every spoon of soup was an empire of its own. And yet, there was something strange about this camp. The guards didn't hit us. They spoke softly, sometimes even smiled. When one of us collapsed, they didn't kick him. They called for help. We didn't understand it. We didn't trust it. Because kindness was dangerous. In war, it was always the first step toward betrayal. Beat. But that day, something changed. The gate creaked open. Snow drifted across the wire, and for a moment, silence. Then, laughter. Not from the guards, but from inside the American camp. It was the kind of sound that didn't belong to war. Light, warm, almost human. I remember standing there, a German soldier without a gun, without a name, without a country. Just a number on a tag. The war was over for me. But it didn't feel like peace. I thought I knew what enemies looked like. But that day, I was about to find out how wrong I was. Beat. That day, an American soldier shared his food with me, and nothing was ever the same again.